Hey, it's Matt. I want to tell you about Celia's stupid Romhack. They took Pokemon Fire Red and they made something so interesting that I just had to talk about it. It's a silly joke game, it's actually really funny, but it's also a difficult puzzle game and also a sincere love letter to the Pokemon franchise with a fair amount of references to non-Pokemon games as well. It's really well made with a lot of care and love, and without question, it is the most fun I've ever had playing a Pokemon game. I was told about Celia's Stupid Romhack by a friend, and I saw a little bit of the early parts and immediately wanted to play it. It's something you should experience for yourself, and I would urge you to do so before you watch this video, but it is built on the bones of an old Pokemon game, and I understand if you don't want to play that. They are kind of slow. The Romhack actually includes a speed-up option, and of course your legally obtained Game Boy Advance has a fast-forward button that I definitely used a few times. It has been decades since I played the original Red or Blue Pokemon, and I haven't ever actually played Fire Red, but I don't think that matters because mainline Pokemon games are all pretty much the same. This opening especially really does a good job of making sure you understand what kind of thing you're getting into. I mean, they start with an apology, they name it a stupid ROM hack, the music is very energetic and silly is how I'll describe it. It does recommend you play it with a group, but I did it all solo and I still really enjoyed it. I'm sure I missed a lot of jokes and references, but I managed to eventually figure out all the puzzles on my own with one notable exception. I will say that Celia's Stupid ROM Hack probably won't be as much fun for you if you aren't already familiar with Pokemon games and their history and pop culture. There is very little reverence for the source material, but everything sort of builds off of it. Almost every line of dialogue is rewritten into some kind of joke, including Pokemon entries and move descriptions. Combined with the programming challenges, the new assets, the new and remixed music, the map changes, this ROM hack must have been a staggering amount of work. So let's get into it. I named myself Matt, and I was gonna name my rival Gary, but the Y was missing. I'm sure that won't be important. We start off in the back of a moving van, which is how Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald start, but the difference here is we get put in a room, so there's a big hole in the wall now. This room is actually filled with a lot of different things that let you know what kind of silly nonsense you're getting into. The NES is a toaster, which is a fun twist on the running gag on actual Pokemon games where this console is some kind of current Nintendo console. Professor Oak is a tree, which was a joke in the opening, but he also appears to be an actual cuttable tree for later in the game. And it looks like the only choice here is Charmander. I mean, I know everybody loves Charizard, but like, my favorite was Bulbasaur. Anyway, this is clearly the fan favorite, so here's the name. Gary's already got a Wartortle with Hyper Beam with no cooldown. What are you doing to me, Celia? Is this how all the fights are gonna go? Well, the tree rigged the fight in the favor of his grandson. What are you gonna do? So, the route out of Palatown has only Rattata on it, and they all use the Fear setup, which uses a weak Rattata to kill almost any other Pokemon, regardless of level or strength. And there's even a scripted shiny encounter with one to mock you since you don't have Pokeballs yet. Pidgey is missing, there's only one potion, and most importantly, there is the pit. Oh god, the pit. This tricked me, as I'm sure it tricks a lot of people. You try to take the shortcut back to Palatown and end up soft-locked and mocked. Honestly, it's pretty funny, and even if you haven't saved yet, it only sets you back a few minutes. But this encounter with the pit is enough to cement itself into your mind, and later it even gets used for jump scares. And I mean, literally, while you're jumping, it scares you. It's a pretty good pun. Of course, the real Pokemon game starts after you go back to Oak and get the Pokédex and balls. From here, we hit our first puzzle battle, and I would like to say this is the true essence of gameplay in Celia's Stupid ROM Hack. I remembered there was a rival fight over here, but I did not expect the level 70 Zapdos. But now's the time to unleash the anger of thousands of furious meta players who lost their sweeper to a rat. Also, is this guy's name Larry? In retrospect, the rival fight is a pivotal moment. You have to learn to use the nonsense the game throws at you to your advantage. Also, that music kicks in when you solve the puzzle, and it is triumphant. I looked it up and it's from Drill Dozer. I should probably play that sometime. Every bookcase and most other readable objects in this game have this stupid My Secret Life Part 3 gag in them. If you don't know it, it's just a reference to a short story you can read in Earthbound and a house you can buy. It's not funny or clever or interesting on its own, but it is funny to make every in-game book be that. You'll see me speeding through it multiple times. It's in the PC boxes too, along with this fake Mew. It looks squished. Honestly, even as a kid, I hated this old guy that teaches you how to catch Pokemon. Seeing a Weedle explode him is maybe a little harsh, but this sort of thing must happen all the time in this world. I mean, look how nonchalant this girl is about getting a new grandpa. As is tradition, I will check the locked Verdian gym, even though I know it's closed. Yeah, it's locked, no tricks here, but hey, I'm not controlling this. Where am I going? Oh god, no, not the pit!
No! Not into the pit! It burns!
Oh, Celia, Jesus Christ. Viridian Forest seems to be set up to allow you to get through it without even getting into fights. Also, there's no Pikachus here, I gather. It would be funny if Pikachu isn't even in the game. Alright, Pewter City. It's time to figure out how to get our first badge. The game has a fair amount of hand-holding here just to make sure you understand that you are being presented with a puzzle, not just a trainer battle. From talking to everyone in town in Viridian Forest, I learned that Brock's Onix is immune to both physical attacks and water attacks, and for some reason our fire starter has only learned water moves. Now, the classically well-known strategy for beating Brock if you started with a Charmander is to level up a Caterpie until it learns Confusion as a Butterfree, because a Psychic attack is special and will demolish Brock's Pokemon. I personally remember doing that a bunch of times as a kid. However, we've also been told that Caterpie basically doesn't evolve in this hack. The solution is simple, and it's just level a Metapod instead. The game makes it easy by giving you rare candies, meaning you don't have to do the boring old switch strat to get XP on a Pokemon with no attacks. Also, the way to the actual gym is blocked, and you have to find a way in. Finally, this annoying guy that leads you around has a use. I did solve this Brock battle puzzle ahead of time, but it didn't make the victory music any less satisfying. The first badge and, Bide. Bide is known to be an absolute trash move. It makes your Pokemon sit there, not fighting back, tanking moves for 2 turns, and then it returns the damage. Look, even for Gen 1, it's really bad. The route to Mount Moon sets up some very long-running jokes in this hack, in the form of the lasses who hate being looked at, and this Jigglypuff that is famous Smash Pro Hungrybox, and also Mr. Mime as Dad who follows us around. I love the Mr. Mime as Dad gag. I assume it's based on the old joke from the Pokemon anime where Ash's dad is gone, or if you believe the rumors, Giovanni. He's always got something nice to say when you find him, and he heals you. He's not at all creepy, he's actually really wholesome. Frankly, all the dialogue on this route is great, too, with tons of references to old Pokemon memes, shorts are comfy and easy to wear, Faulkner's underleveled Pidgeotto, it's good stuff. Mount Moon is a place that I hated as a kid, and I can assume that isn't uncommon. Caves in general are bad because every tile can be a random encounter, and look, here's one. It's a Tentacool. Does that mean Zubats are in the ocean? Also, the DMCA is an organization instead of just a law here. They replaced Team Rocket. That's fun. Nintendo is known to be overly litigious to an obnoxious, unnecessary degree, and I'm guessing Romhack makers have all had plenty of bad run-ins with the DMCA. Anyway, the game is warning me that I'll have to fight something that's dark and poison with Wonder Guard. I remember reading a sign that said we were using the old busted red, blue, yellow type chart, so a bug move would do that. The question I had to solve then was, which of these Pokemon learns a bug move? I caught a Paris in the cave earlier, and it evolved using a Sunstone as a joke about how it's 4 times weak to fire. This poor burnt Parasect learned Struggle Bug, which was all I needed. Later I learned you could have used a ground attack to kill the invincible coughing. I had totally forgotten that Wonder Guard was its ability so it couldn't have Levitate like they normally would. Whatever works, I guess. Mount Moon was a real hurdle back when I was a kid, but this version was fun and streamlined. I loved the secret shortcuts. I continually have to praise the foresight of Celia and company for map design. Oh god, what happened here to these old men that teach you Mega Kick and Mega Punch? They killed each other, damn, that's brutal. Cerulean City is themed after the Game Boy Color game, Pokemon Trading Card Game. I played the heck out of that game as a kid, and man, the music hits me hard with nostalgia. They replaced all the normal music in town with the music from Pokemon TCG. The gym is themed after the trading card game's whack types and weird mechanics. You even get a card game version of Scyther, which goes on to be incredibly important. So by this point, I had learned to check new Pokemon's moves, abilities, and held items. I had noticed that Sandshrew in this game has Water Absorb, so when I got to the next rival fight with Jerry, and his Moltres used Surf, I was ready. Or so I thought. I hadn't noticed that evolving Sandshrew into Sonic made it lose Water Absorb. I did the Walk of Shame to catch a new one and smash my rival. This version of Nugget Bridge is all references to pro Pokemon players and doubles teams. The later part of the path to Bill's house even name-drops Smogon. And there's this one trainer that says a lot of a legendary crash-out rant from a pro player who quit after getting extremely screwed by RNG in a pivotal match. Listen, it's important to know your history when it comes to Pokemon memes. They go back like 30 years. Bill's house doesn't seem like it does anything, but it still opens the way out of Cerulean like it does in the normal game. It also offers easy and infinite money in the form of Pokédolls. These are here so you can buy rare candy in the stores, which you need to experiment with evolutions and moves. I don't recall how much the dolls sold for in the original game, but I think it's a smart move to make them valuable. I was having a lot of trouble figuring out how to get to Misty. I even went in the back of the gym just to be told that's not the answer. And then I remembered the Scyther I had been given earlier in the gym. Using its ability to retreat took me right to her, and she was an easy fight. Scyther is able to retreat to benches because it's a reference to the Pokemon card game mechanics, where the Pokemon that you don't have out are on a bench. Since this is the card game version of Scyther, of course it has this ability. Learning just how powerful and useful retreat was a revelation. I felt like I had discovered an important underlying secret about how the devs' brains work. I had been noticing these out-of-place benches all game, and now seeing them as shortcuts and even new paths blew my mind. After this, Celia sprites start showing up to check your progress. She constantly reminds you that you should fill out your Pokédex. This is an extremely important mechanic, as many Pokemon have useful moves or abilities to help you solve puzzles throughout the whole game. No, really though. You'll get to a very late game puzzle and realize that the exact Pokemon you need is something you caught within the first 2 hours of playing. And figuring out how to catch all these Pokemon is a puzzle in and of itself. The Pokédex lists the locations of Pokemon you've seen, which in the case of things like Geodude is a hint on how to get them, and also you can ask Professor Oak through the PC for a hint on how to get a Pokemon that you should have but don't have yet. These are both great systems that help you without outright telling you what to do. Now, I'm not going to include how I got every Pokemon. Some mystery needs to remain alive. However, I will say that seeing the bizarre evolutionary paths and complete departures from what I remembered was kind of exhilarating. It reminds me of when I was a very young child looking at Nintendo Power's first view of Pokemon Red and Blue. I read the strange names like Jigglypuff and Porygon and Dragonair, and how these weird little guys would turn into other ones. I'd only played Mario games until that point, and it filled me with a sort of wonder and curiosity. I don't hate newer Pokemon games, but they do not do that for me anymore. This silly Romhack, however, made me feel it again. Watching Poliwag turn into something that isn't even a Pokemon was unexpected, but it was also really funny, and it got a genuine laugh out of me. The Romhack had me completely hooked at this point. I followed Celia's advice and I did my best to fill out the Pokédex. It helpfully tells you how many Pokemon you can currently get, and it updates every time more become available based on progression. I also noticed a little plus number next to that total, which I think represents how many Pokemon you've gotten that it doesn't expect you to have yet. It's very robust and super cool. Anyway, using Retreat creatively allowed me to go back to before Mount Moon, which is amazing. I was starting to think like the Romhack and I went to the Elite Four. With just one badge, I was able to pick up Zapdos, who evolved into Jolteon, who evolved into a crab. Everything becomes crabs, you know. Thanks to various shortcuts, I returned to my main path and headed south, and broke into a house using Retreat. These emblems that change your color are straight out of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, one of my most beloved games. It was the last good Paper Mario. Fight me. Well, here's the underground pass. It sure is. Yeah, it's. Well, yeah, good, thanks. I could have skipped all of this. I was a huge fan of Smugleaf. Oh, I know this guy. This was like someone taking Oshawott revealed silhouette and trying to guess what it would look like before the game came out. I love it. There are some times, not many, but some, when I feel kinda like this Gen 1er here. But something that this Romhack addresses and makes fun of is how subpar a lot of things about Gen 1 are. You see some Pokemon, just a few of them, all over the place, especially the Team Rocket staples, Tentacruel, Zubat, and then some Pokemon are woefully rare, like only 3 dragons and 3 ghosts? I'm saying that things have improved over time, and it's funny to look back on the primitive nature of Gen 1. So Execute evolved into a Spearow, which I traded for a duck that knew Cut, and then I killed Professor Oak with it. Don't feel bad though, he's everywhere. Route 11 is a pretty funny reference to the famous Lost comic, and if you don't know what that means, I truly do not want to talk about it here. Just Google Lost comic. Suffice to say, there's multiple references to it all over this route. Even this room is lost. Even Unknown is lost. Well done. The amount of times this Romhack gets a genuine laugh out of me is really impressive. Speaking of laughs, one thing that always gets me is when I accidentally hit L or R and open the Bible. They put the entire King James Version Bible in as a gag for when you hit a button that did not exist for Red and Blue. Given my background, it's funny every time. I even decided to check some notable verses to see if they had made them more palatable or hidden secrets in them. Turns out that the Bible is also infected with My Secret Life Part 3, and every chapter 3 is just that. This Route to Rock Tunnel is also a big reference, this time to Twitch Plays Pokemon, the original one, back in like 2014? The original TPP was an event that my friend group followed, and it was a blast. It was a really special time of getting so many people together to try to beat this ancient old Game Boy game. Here's the infamous ledge, much longer than I remember. There's the player character himself running into a wall and likely reading the SSN ticket or Helix fossil. This biker has the all-terrain Venomoth. I love this custom sprite they made. It's so good. One of the best things about TPP was the lore people made for it as it went on. Flareon was the false prophet of the Dome Fossil, praise Helix. Democracy versus Anarchy, winning against Dragonite because it kept trying to use a super effective move that didn't do damage. It was an event you really had to be there for, and when it was finally beaten, most of us kinda stopped caring about future TPPs. Which is also referenced by this NPC talking about Laser Gator, which I think I barely remember was the starter for TPP2. The OG Twitch Plays Pokemon was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. All these NPCs are really talking up the difficulty of Rock Tunnel. As far as I know, everyone hated Rock Tunnel as a kid, even if you did remember to get Flash. Celia has removed the Poké Center too, and Dad is trapped behind a fence and can't heal us. Also, apparently there's a furry convention going on inside? I'm scared. Well, here I go. Oh. Hey, this dude is clearly a brony. Look, his Galarian Rapidash has a cutie mark right there! My rival is here, now named Harry, and man, this strategy is annoying. I had to leave and get a TM for a move to beat him, otherwise his Ho-Oh and his Raticate keep rezzing each other. It's a nice touch to give the Raticate 1 HP. As I recall in the original game, your rival no longer has Raticate on his team anymore because it died and he buried it here in the tower. I can't get past this ghost right now, I guess. I mean, I don't have the Sylph Scope, that's what you normally need. I'll poke around and see if I can go other ways. Snorlax blocks me here, Sudowoodo blocks me here. I got a water pail, but it leaks and runs out of water. Oh, the solution was to remember that retreat is very strong. Wow, this underground pass is way shorter. This NPC here warns me that Cerulean City has been randomized. I used to play randomized Link to the Past in Super Metroid, so how bad could it be? Long story short, it is bad. I'll figure this one out in the next video. I have to wander around for a while. Thanks for watching.